Today, we're talking about how being the firstborn, lastborn, middle child, or only child might just explain why you are the way you are. Let's kick things off with the firstborns, shall we? Ah, the firstborns. The guinea pigs of parenting, the trailblazers, the ones who had to suffer through all those awkward first-time parent moments. You know, like when your folks thought it was a good idea to document your every bowel movement in a baby book. Yeah, that happened. Firstborns often get a reputation for being bossy, responsible, and achievement-oriented. And let's be honest, there's some truth to that. When you're the first kid, you're basically running a one-person show. All eyes are on you, and the pressure is real. Your parents are figuring out this whole raising a human thing, and you're their star pupil. Picture this. Little Timmy, age 5, firstborn extraordinaire. He's got his teddy bears lined up in perfect order, conducting a rigorous stuffed animal board meeting. Mr. Fluffy, your quarterly cuddle reports are unacceptable. Shape up or ship out. Meanwhile, his parents are watching from the doorway, torn between pride and mild concern. But here's the thing about firstborns. They're often natural leaders. They're the ones who end up as CEOs, astronauts, and presidents. Why? Well, when you've spent your entire childhood being the responsible one and setting an example for your younger siblings, leadership kind of becomes your default setting. Of course, being a firstborn isn't all board meetings and bossiness. There's a flip side to all that responsibility. Firstborns can sometimes struggle with perfectionism and the fear of failure. After all, when you're used to being the golden child, the thought of messing up can be pretty terrifying. Now, let's shift gears and talk about the lastborns, the babies of the family, the ones who got away with murder, figuratively speaking, of course. If firstborns are the responsible ones, lastborns are often seen as the free spirits, the risk-takers, the ones who charm their way out of trouble with a cheeky grin. Imagine Sarah, the lastborn of 3. While her older siblings are stressing over homework and chores, Sarah's busy convincing her parents that ice cream is a perfectly acceptable dinner option. But Mom, it's dairy! That's basically a food group, right? And somehow, miraculously, it works. Lastborns often benefit from more relaxed parenting. By the time they come along, their parents have realized that a little dirt won't kill a kid, and missing a nap isn't the end of the world. This can lead to a more carefree attitude in lastborns, but it can also make them pretty darn resourceful. You see, when you're the youngest, you learn early on that you've got to get creative to get what you want. You can't compete with your older siblings in terms of strength or experience, so you learn to use your wit, charm, and sometimes those puppy dog eyes. But being the lastborn isn't all fun and games. They can sometimes struggle to be taken seriously. After all, when you've spent your whole life being the baby of the family, it can be hard to shake off that image. And let's not forget the hand-me-downs. Nothing says lastborn life, quite like wearing your older brother's neon windbreaker from 1992 and 2005. Now, we can't talk about birth order without addressing the middle children. Ah, the middle children. The Jan Bradys of the world, forever sandwiched between the overachieving eldest and the adorable youngest. If birth order were a sandwich, middle children would be the often overlooked but secretly delicious filling. Middle children often get a bad rap for having middle child syndrome. They're seen as the forgotten ones, the peacekeepers, the ones who might as well change their name to "Hey You" for all the attention they get. But here's the thing. Being a middle child can actually be a superpower. Meet Alex, the middle child of 3. While their older sister is busy winning science fairs and their younger brother is charming the socks off everyone, Alex is quietly mastering the art of diplomacy. Need someone to negotiate a truce in the great sibling war of who gets the last cookie. Alex is your go-to mediator. Middle children often develop excellent social skills and empathy. They're the bridge between the older and younger siblings, able to see things from multiple perspectives. This makes them great friends, partners, and co-workers. They're the ones who can smoothly navigate office politics or diffuse tense family dinners with a well-timed joke. But being a middle child isn't without its challenges. They can sometimes struggle with finding their identity or feeling like they don't quite fit in. It's the classic, not the oldest, not the youngest dilemma. This can lead to some pretty creative ways of standing out. Like that time Alex decided to dye their hair blue and start a ukulele punk band called The Forgotten Filling. Last but certainly not least, let's talk about the only children. These solo acts often get a bad rap for being spoiled, selfish, or socially awkward. But let's be real. Being an only child is like being a one-person wolf pack. It takes some serious skills to navigate the world when you're the sole focus of your parents' attention and expectations. Meet Olivia, an only child who's basically been an adult since she was 5. While other kids were playing house, Olivia was discussing the stock market with her parents over dinner. "Mom, Dad, I think it's time we diversify our portfolio. Have you considered investing in Lego? I hear it's outperforming gold." Only children often develop a strong sense of independence and self-reliance. When you don't have siblings to lean on or blame, you learn to handle things on your own pretty quickly. They're often comfortable with solitude and have rich inner lives. Olivia's imaginary friends weren't just playmates. They were a board of advisors for her stuffed animal empire. But being an only child isn't all deep conversations and imaginary empires. It can be lonely sometimes, especially when you're young and all your friends are talking about sibling shenanigans. And let's not forget the pressure. When you're the only chance your parents have at grandchildren, those "so, when are you getting married?" conversations start way too early. Only children also have to learn to share and compromise later in life, which can be a bit of a shock. The first time Olivia had a roommate in college was interesting. "What do you mean I can't have a color-coded schedule for the bathroom? How else will we optimize our morning routines?" Now, before we wrap this up, let's address the elephant in the room, or should I say, the nature versus nurture debate in the room. While birth order can influence personality traits, it's not the only factor at play. Things like genetics, parenting styles, cultural background, and individual experiences all shape who we become. So, if you're a lastborn who's super responsible, or a firstborn who's a free spirit, don't worry. You're not defying some cosmic birth order law. You're just proof that humans are complex, and we can't be neatly categorized based on when we popped out of the womb. It's also worth noting that birth order effects can vary depending on factors like the age gap between siblings, gender, and family size. In a family with a big age gap between kids, you might essentially have 2 firstborns. And in very large families, the dynamics can get even more complex. It's less the Brady Bunch and more Game of Thrones, hopefully with less violence and more family game nights. So what's the takeaway from all this birth order business? Well, for one, it's a great conversation starter at awkward family gatherings. So, Aunt Mildred, do you think your perfectionist tendencies are because you're a firstborn, or because of that incident with the flamingo at the zoo in '83? But more importantly, understanding birth order can give us insight into family dynamics and our own behaviors. It can help us appreciate our siblings' perspectives, and maybe even explain why we always seem to end up planning the family holidays. Looking at you, firstborns. For parents, being aware of birth order effects can help in understanding and supporting each child's unique needs. Maybe that means making sure the middle child gets some one-on-one time, or helping the lastborn develop a sense of responsibility. And for those of us grappling with our place in the family hierarchy, remember this. Your birth order doesn't define you. It's just one piece of the complex puzzle that makes you, well, you. Whether you're a bossy firstborn, a peacemaking middle child, a charming lastborn, or a self-reliant only child, you have the power to shape your own story. So, the next time you find yourself in a sibling squabble or feeling pigeonholed by your birth order, take a step back and have a laugh. Remember little Timmy with his teddy bear board meetings, Sarah negotiating for ice cream dinners, Alex and their ukulele punk band, and Olivia with her stuffed animal empire. We're all just trying to find our place in this crazy family circus. In the end, whether you're first, last, in between, or flying solo, what really matters is the love, support, and occasional eye-rolling exasperation that comes with being part of a family. So embrace your birth order quirks, laugh at the stereotypes, and maybe give your siblings a call, even if it's just to argue about who mom really loves best. And hey, if all else fails, you can always blame your personality quirks on your zodiac sign instead. Sorry I'm late. It's not because I'm the irresponsible lastborn. Mercury is clearly in retrograde. Now that's a universal excuse we can all get behind.